Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our next session of From Advice Media as we continue our education series on ways to help you become more profitable, more helpful, more responsive to your clients and everything that you do. We appreciate your attendance here with us and look for your continued feedback as we look for recognized speakers in this industry and those that have proven the strategies to help you be successful. We again thank you and applaud you for taking time out of your day to be here and to continue to learn more from these webinars. As we go on today, just a couple of quick items. If you have any questions throughout this presentation that you would like to ask Dr. Josh Wagner, I will be moderating those and invite you to do that through the panel that you'll see on the right-hand side of your screen where it's the question section. So please go ahead and put those in there, and I will field those. And as we get to the end of the presentation, we'll let Dr. Wagner respond to your questions. So please interact with him. He looks forward to that and being able to answer your questions. If you have any other things that you need from me, please let me know. But that's one of our main things today. We've got a lot of great things going on here at Advice Media as we wrap up this month and head into the next few months. This is typically a busy time for most practices this time of year, and so I'm excited to welcome Dr. Wagner as our presenter today. Dr. Wagner, I met him, just kind of tell you a little bit about our introduction, met him a few months ago at the Aesthetics Show. And anytime I find someone who's very like-minded, someone who has a proven system or a record of helping others, I'm always very interested because one of the biggest things I hear from doctors is they say, gosh, Chad, you know, I've got a great web presence, I have a great staff, I've got the right people, but we're not where we want to be. We're not seeing either the close rates where we want to be, we're not getting the price that we feel we should for our procedures, and while we're making money, we're really not at the profit level where we want to be. And we want to grow this. We want this to be a thriving business, not just a good business. We want to be huge. And so I look for ways, and it can be sometimes just one little tweak you make. Maybe it's the way that you've been answering the phones, and we had a discussion on that a few months ago. Sometimes it's a matter of what can I do today with my current patients who are coming in to get more, to double that high fee. And as I heard this information from Dr. Wagner, and he told me about experiences he had, I thought, this is fantastic. This is our clients and those that we talk to need to hear this information. So anyway, without further ado, let me introduce Dr. Wagner. Dr. Josh Wagner has worked with hundreds of doctors in over 17 countries now, and really focusing on increasing income in less practice hours. So it's which is critical. As you know, you can't duplicate yourself, so it's how do I do more with what I have today? His area of expertise is consult communication, which is for increasing your high fee procedure conversion rate, the referrals and retention without needing more staff or more new patients every single month. And then his teachings can also be found on aestheticpracticestrategies.com. And again, without further ado, Dr. Wagner, take it away.
Chad, thank you so much for that introduction and for having me. And first thing I want to do is really acknowledge every doctor on this right now. Even if you're listening to this later as a recording, it's middle of the day, Wednesday, and one of the busiest times of the year before the holiday season kicks in. You could be training your staff, seeing patients at lunch, whatever it may be. You're here right now, and I promise and guarantee that this entire presentation is going to be packed full of immediately implementable ideas, communication, and strategies that you can do yourself or share with your staff, and you will see a direct difference in how patients trust, respect you more, follow your recommendations, and want to invest and tell other people about you with the strategies I share. I'm from New York. I'm going to go fast. Since you're on this, you're going to get a recording. You can review it. And my goal is to give you as much as possible because you absolutely deserve it, because you deliver a priceless service to your community. So first off, as Chad mentioned, I've worked with doctors in over 17 countries, and what I'm going to share with you works regardless of your location, or whether you're a cosmetic, a plastic, cosmetic dentist, it doesn't matter. These are human communication strategies, so it's irrelevant of the actual services you deliver. What I realized over the last couple of years is, especially in the aesthetic world for high fee procedures, doctors seem to be very, very content and accept a 1 in 3 conversion rate. And that's absolutely at least half of what you should be, even for the high fee conversions. It's too often patients are coming in and they are testing or interviewing you as one of the 3 or 4 different doctors or surgeons they're considering getting the procedure from. And you could turn that around where patients are now convincing you to take their case and the ability to pay you. And I'm going to show you bits and pieces of the 5 most important conversations that have to be had, from the new patient call-in to the scheduling and payment with your PCC in this presentation. And that's what I'm excited about, because what Chad alluded to also, there is nothing wrong with getting tons of new patients every month, depending on how you get them. Hopefully you're not spending more than what's coming in. Hopefully you're not working nights and weekends to make that happen. Yet the most important practice statistic, and the one that doesn't cost you really any money or extra time or staff, is your new patient conversions. So once you've already got them in the doors, think about if your conversions went from 1/3 to 50% to 2/3, no more overhead, no more hours in practice, no more staff. What's that direct difference in your income that can make? That's what I love teaching doctors, is because, again, it doesn't take that much time or energy to make a drastic difference in that one stat, which dramatically changes your bottom line at the end of the month and the end of the year, which is your income and the ability to have greater bonuses for your staff, get better staff, all of that, and not do the marketing that you may think you have to do, but you're really not seeing the return. You've just done it year after year. And that doesn't, again, discredit having an amazing website like Advice Media's to bring in higher quality patients who are attracted to what you have to offer. So let's get right into this. I want to start off with, hopefully you're already using Advice Media's websites, because they are beautiful. They're the best I've seen in the aesthetic world. And they all, and Chad, correct me if I'm wrong, they all come with your live chat services. Is that true?
So live chat's an option that they can purchase, but it is available for every single website that we offer.
Good. Okay. So if you're not currently using the live chat box, you have to be. And if you're not familiar with that, this isn't your office staff or your PCC monitoring this and having to take up time with people inquiring. This is a fully automated and outsourced live person who's monitoring people, prospects, come in and browsing your website. And whether you don't have this, you need to get it. If you do have this, I want to share the first of 3 best practices when using this, because I see also a lot of practices losing a lot of qualified leads because they're not doing this correctly. So remember, if someone's talking to the chat person on your website, they most likely aren't a direct referral. They're most likely not already sold. Otherwise, they would have called in and scheduled the consult. So this is the person who may have 3 different browser tabs up and is looking at your competitors along with you. So when they type in their name and their address and their phone number to start that chat, or you get the chat emailed to you from the outsourced company, I see too many practices get that at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon and put it on the to-do list tomorrow morning to call that patient. What you have to realize is every second, every minute that goes by that person finishes that conversation with the chat agent or submits their information, they are already on your competitor's website doing the same thing. So you have to handle that new lead, that information, just as seriously as someone calling your practice live. Remember, in this day and age with mobile devices so easily to communicate through, someone may be in public transportation, someone may be at their job, and they can't be on the phone. So they're going to start the engagement with you through text, through chat. You've got to be able to respond timely. So urgency and timing is imminent. If you're not responding to those just as urgently as picking up the live phone call ringing in your practice, you're losing leads. And not only that, they're then just going to move on and go to the next website because it's most likely not a direct referral or someone who's already sold on your practice. So make sure your PCC is following this. Make sure they have a dedicated script to call back that patient. And I'll give you some examples here on how to better connect with the patients and have someone go from, I'm thinking about you to, yes, I want to get on the schedule. So without a doubt, make sure if you're using Advice Media, you get the live chat lead function. And if you're not using Advice Media, check out their sites. They're absolutely beautiful. Now, there's 5 conversations that have to be done expertly and perfectly to change your high fee conversion rate. Again, I'm not speaking about someone, let's say it's just Botox or something for a few $1,000s or lower. I'm talking about high fee procedures that too many doctors have a 1 in 3 conversion rate for. And that starts with the new patient call-in, to the in-person PCC consult, to then the doctor consult, which includes the exam after the consult, which then proceeds based on what's found in the exam, the doctor recommendations conversation, and then finally, the fees and scheduling conversation with the PCC. So those are the 5 conversations that need to be mastered and owned and perfected by the doctor and the PCC and whoever is picking up that first phone call. And I'm going to give you bits and pieces of each of those conversations. I can't give all 5 totally within the next 45 minutes or so, but what I'm going to share with you, you can immediately take and you will see a difference, whether it's later this afternoon or tomorrow, even if you just take, oh, this sentence here, this understanding here, this mindset there. And really think about it. If you just kept getting the same exact number of new patients every month, so you didn't increase your marketing, but you turn that 1 in 3 or whatever your high fee conversion rate right now is to 67 or 80% plus, what would that difference in your income be? It's absolutely dramatic, and this can't be left out of your practice strategy. So let's start with the new patient call-in experience. What separates that phone conversation from every other aesthetic practice in your city or town when someone else is calling? Because if they're calling you, most likely they're calling 3 or 4 other offices as well. And there's a concept that I love that's called getting a no. You'll see it come up in other conversations in this presentation, and both the doctor, the PCC, and whoever is the dedicated assistant in your office to handle new patient phone calls has to understand this concept. And it comes from Chris Voss, who is the #1 world's expert negotiator. And I had the opportunity to interview him and do a podcast with him a few months ago. Chris Voss started off with the FBI, and for 10, 15 years, he was the international hostage negotiator, the #1 hostage negotiator. From there, he went on to business strategy. So he has the Black Swan Group, and he realized that the same mentality that goes on with negotiating with kidnappers and terrorists is no different in business or any human-to-human communication, because it all comes down to basic human psychology. And he has a phenomenal strategy called getting a no, where you ask a question that purposely elicits a no response from your, let's say, new prospect or your new patient, but that no response leads them closer to you. Rather than an obvious yes answer question, which we all know what that feels like. That's when you get the telemarketer calling you and they start asking obvious yes answer questions, and you feel like you're about to get sold. You feel like you're getting walked down the aisle and you're about to get pigeonholed into a question that you finally can't say no to, and it means you gotta pay or sign up or something like that. When anyone gets asked obvious yes questions, they start to feel defensive, they back up, they go the other way, and they just don't like it. So you don't want to do that to your prospects. But what's interesting is by just flipping it around and asking a no question, it actually makes people feel safe and protected and more comfortable with you and brings them closer to you, and they don't even realize it. So I'll show you a great one later on in the presentation, but just to start, that initial phone call with your staff member who's going to take these phone calls, you have to make that a real conversation. It can't be how quickly can I get off the phone and schedule this person, because that's going to lead to no-shows and cancellations because the person didn't feel that connection. So a great way to start the conversation is, Mary, I'm sure you're busy. Is it too much to ask for a few minutes right now to make sure our office is a fit for the procedure you're looking for? Now, most 95% of people are going to say, no, I'm not too busy, even if they actually are, because they don't want to be rude. And by them saying no, they're giving you and offering you their time to say, okay, I'm going to spend 5 minutes speaking with this person and make sure the practice is a fit. Then when you go into that, you're warning them, we're going to have a conversation to see if Dr. Smith is right for you before we schedule a consult. And now this is important. If we find, or if I find there's an even better option in the city for your goals, we'll let you know too. So right there, whether it's both on the phone call with that prospective new patient, who again is obviously or most likely a little nervous, a little hesitant, how much is this going to cost? Am I going to go under the knife or the needle or the laser? There's a level of sympathetics going through with their emotions. So when you let them know, if we find there's even a better option for your goals, we're going to let you know who that is. Immediately that adds more comfort and connection and rapport to the conversation and the connection. And you will see, and I will address this later in the presentation, it comes off as extremely unneedy. And unneediness is a mentality that you absolutely have to have in every patient encounter, because whether it's the doctor-patient relationship, a romantic relationship, or pretty much anything else, neediness is the most unattractive quality. And it happens too often that a patient will feel either on the phone with the staff member or in the consult with the doctor or the PCC that the doctor or the staff member needs them more than they need you. And that's never an energy or a frame you want to paint around any conversation you're having with a prospective patient, especially if investment is on the line. So rather than your staff member trying to get them scheduled as quickly as possible and get them off the phone so they can handle something else in the office, you need to have someone dedicated. They're taking that call in private. They're writing everything down. They're not typing on a computer where it sounds like you're on the phone with an airline rep. And they are not coming off needy or assuming or pushy whatsoever in the eyes of someone who you have the potential of losing with any wrong sentence, word, tone of voice, rushed, anything like that. So every word counts. And that doesn't mean you need to be a scripted robot, but having a template and a flow to guide patients through the process of not only feeling comfortable with you, but wanting your procedure and wanting to tell other people about you. So continuing down in that new patient phone call conversation, you can see at the top left, there's number 8 right there. I pretty much just skipped from 1 to 8 because I'm going to give you pieces from all of these different 5 conversations. I don't have the time to do it all right now. So when it comes to time frame, there's a difference of how you ask the patient how urgent this is or when they want it done. So when you ask, ideally, when are you looking to get these results before? Because we're already at the 8th part of the conversation. You've already found out what procedure they're looking for. There's a difference between asking that compared to, when do you want this procedure done? When do you want this procedure done impacts the person like an obvious yes question. They feel a little pigeonholed. They feel on the spot. They feel like the answer they give you, they have to stick to. So when you find out when are you looking to get these results before, it's a lot gentler and they're going to give you a more realistic answer. And more importantly, you're going to find out what one of the big reasons they want this for. Obviously, everyone has their intrinsic reasons of wanting to look better, look younger, feel better about themselves, more confidence, all of that. But there often could be something else that is important, like a wedding coming up, something where they're going to be photographed or on video. And by knowing that, that's going to help you on the back end with how you frame your procedures, the options for the dates, the prices, and knowing urgency for them. So extremely, extremely important. Now, lastly, when you finish that new patient phone call, if you currently are experiencing new patient no-shows or cancellations and you don't have any repercussion for that, you need to implement this. And that is taking a credit card number It's not going to be charged. It doesn't even have to be used for the initial exam fee, purely to reserve the new patient's consult time with the doctor. It's only billed in the case of a no-show or cancellation within 48 hours, which is whatever fee you deem worthy. And I'll tell you, when I started in practice, one of my ways to connect with the community was interacting with the business owners of either healthcare or services who had like demographic of the patients I was looking to serve. So Pilates studios, I start on the Upper East Side of New York, obviously the middle-aged female who has, let's say, the income to spend $150 on private Pilates sessions multiple times a week and is conscious about their health and their look is an ideal new patient. So even though I don't enjoy doing Pilates, I called up and I signed up to do a group class. And part of the reason was to get to know the instructors and get to know the owner of the studio. And it was a Wednesday, and I was calling up for a Saturday morning, and it was probably a $35 group class. It was nothing that really, if I didn't show up, was really going to mess with their business model. Yet before we got off the phone, that receptionist said, and by the way, we need a credit card on file to confirm your group class. And if you cancel or no show, it's going to be charged the rate. Now, I had no reason not to give them my credit card. I'm not someone who no shows or cancels, and I had all reason to be there. And I had no issue with my information getting compromised. Yet, when she asked me that question, the significance and the seriousness of their studio went from absolutely normal to extremely high, just because they required that for me to show up. So it's not something you have to do, but if you are experiencing new patient no-shows and cancellations within 24 hours, it means people really aren't committed to you coming in. You need to implement this right away. And if people can't give you that over the phone, then they're not going to be serious about paying you for a procedure. So there's no reason they should feel any insecurity with over the phone giving their credit card information or having those restrictions on a cancellation policy. So absolutely implement this, and it will not only up your actual patients who show, but it'll up your status in the eyes of the patient, and perception is everything. So how patients think of you is going to make a huge difference in how much they tell others about you and want to invest with you easier. Okay, now we're going to get into aspects of the doctor consult. So I'm skipping over the PCC consult, which should come before any patient meets with the doctor, can be offered complimentary. And then when the patient gets to meet with the doctor, always there should be a fee attached to it. You can offer complimentary consultations, and that should be with the PCC, but everyone who's listening to this right now, you're a doctor, you deserve to be paid for your time with the patient, even if it's a 10 or 15-minute consult that goes into even if it's a relatively quick exam based on the procedure. Again, I know based on location, many doctors struggle with, if everyone else in the community has offers a free consultation, if I don't, what's going to happen? You can still offer the free consultation, get them in the practice. The consultation is with an expertly trained PCC who, after that conversation, there's going to be no issue for the patient to pay the consult or exam fee to the doctor. And it's going to eliminate patient indecision and ever hearing those dreaded words, I need to think about it, and then 90% of those patients you never hear from again, disappear, and you don't know where you dropped the ball. So let's start shifting that right now. Now, initial connection. You're going to come in the room, or the patient's going to be escorted into the room with you. And obvious first things that you're going to do is introduce yourself and establish rapport. So the easy way to establish rapport is if the patient was a referral, but not every patient's going to be a referral. We can't say, oh, I know Sally referred you. Sally's had great results. We love her here, and I'm going to make sure to thank her personally. That's the obvious, easy one, but not all of your patients are referral. So what's another way to establish connection and get on the same level with them quickly before leading them in the conversation? And one easy way is just to find out how many years they've been in the community. Whether it's been 6 months or 30 years, you let them know how long you've been in the community. And whether it's been 3 months or 30 years, you can connect with them by letting them know why did you choose this community and how happy you are that you have chosen it and love providing your service in the community. Right there, it's just going to transfer because they're in the community that you love providing your service to them as well. It's just subconsciously, it's going to connect you. Then you're going to go into how the visit's going to go today. And that's a very, very important, called the leadership statement. You're going to tell them straight up, this is how the visit's going to go. I'm going to listen to everything you have to say. And if at any point I feel there's someone else better suited for your goals in the community, I'm going to tell you exactly who that is. So even if your PCC said that on the initial phone call the day before or the week before, you repeating it is just going to, again, solidify neediness, leadership, and credibility. Now, you'll see that the 3 essentials are highlighted here in orange. The 3 essentials are what your PCC is going to get during his or her initial consult before they meet with you. And this is the gold. What you find out as the reasons why your patient is looking for the procedure is what's going to make the biggest difference, the 80-20 difference in why patients choose to invest in you over your competitor, and why they'll even pay you more than, let's say, a underpriced or competitor that's offering lower fees or some kind of a special or discount. And this is going to make the difference going forward. So, Chad, Chad, I got to ask you a question. Do you order dessert out at night for dinner?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
All right, good. So I pretty much never order dessert, and it's not because I'm super healthy. It's just because I'm full at the end of my meal, and it's very rare a dessert entices me. And there's 3 ways waiters are trained to get the dessert sale, because just like drinks and appetizers, desserts are one of the more profitability factors for a restaurant. Now, the first way for a waiter to come over and do it is ask, hey, would anyone like to see the dessert menu? And only the people who always order dessert and know what they want are usually gonna order. But that's the lowest level. You're absolutely not gonna get any extra dessert orders. Kind of like as the surgeon asking, oh, are there any other procedures you're interested in? If that's your way to foster more interest and get more procedures, maybe 1% of the people will be interested. The second way for the waiter is to very eloquently have a deliciously scripted quote for each of the desserts, and they're describing it just like a commercial or a cooking magazine would. And as that waiter describes each one of the list, he puts the list in front of it. He puts it in everyone's hand. He describes each one from the tiramisu to the chocolate mousse to everything, and it just, you can taste it as he's describing it. That's the second level. There's going to be maybe a 10-15% jump in dessert orders when someone's trained and is smart and does it that way. Just like a doctor describing really eloquently the difference it's going to make and describing the different procedures, the effective rates, everything you offer, rather than just asking, is there anything else you're interested in? But the third way, and this is where the 3 essentials gets in, is certain restaurants are trained so well that I think the last one was like a Morton's Steakhouse. Now, even though it's a chain, it's a high-end, reputable steakhouse. They will literally, at the end of the meal, once the dishes are cleared off and it's time for the dessert question, they will wheel a cart right over to the table with all of the desserts displayed at pretty much chest level for everyone to stare at and smell and see as the waiter describes each one and puts the information in your hands. When someone sees right in front of them what's possible and smells it, and there's that whole sensory experience, they will get far, far more dessert orders. I know because it works on me, and I'm a tough sell, and I don't even like dessert. So when they do...
I'm the same way, Josh. I'm the same way. When I see that tray come out, I'm like, I wasn't really thinking about it, and I'm stuffed, but okay, fine. There's a little room in there, right?
Well, you're either picking one for yourself or you're picking one to share with the person next to you. So either way,
exactly.
getting sold. And it's almost like a guilt thing, like, oh, he wheeled it all this way. I kind of got to choose something. Now, you're never going to make a patient feel that way, but here's what the 3 essentials are. And it takes you to that third level of engagement where someone just feels so connected and wants what you have to offer. And the 3 essentials is when you listen to what that patient, when that patient tells you why they're looking for whatever procedure they're looking for, and you ask certain questions, you're going to find out and be able to deliver back to them these 3 things. 1, you've got to be able to give them a summary of what they just told you. So they may have rattled on for 2.5 minutes about, Sally got this facelift, or I know someone who got a nose job with you, or they did this procedure and it looked great and this is what I want. And they're going on for 2.5 minutes. You've got to be able to give them a summary back of what they told you, just to let them know that you listened. Because it's too common that patients get the feeling, this doctor, it was all about him or her. I didn't get the sense they really understood my needs. And they talked about their procedures and their accolades. And I don't even know if I was really heard or understood. That's important now more than ever, especially in this technological age where it's only going to get worse, where most of communication is email, text, and I don't know, something else, Snapchat. In-person communication is the least, is happening less and less. So people can feel when there's disconnection and they crave that connection. So the first of 3 essentials is letting the person know that you heard them by giving them a summary of what they said. And it could be as simple as, let me just make sure I heard what you said, or I'm going to give you a summary of what you shared, and then give it back to them. The second is letting them know that you know how they feel. And I don't mean a symptomatic feeling, I mean an emotional feeling, like they're worried that with every season that goes by, there's more wrinkles, more aging, whatever it may be for that procedure, more sagging, more pounds. You've got to be able to find out, which may be as simple as asking, how does this make you feel? But they may tell you, and a lot of women will just tell you straight up their emotional feeling. When you tell it back to them, as simple as this sounds, you will go from the first level of connection of, oh, this doctor heard me, to, wow, this doctor understands me and knows how I feel. It's absolutely huge. And we're getting to the point where if that, let's say female, the majority of her patients, has to convince her husband to get the procedure, they're going to be convincing them based on their connection with you and how they feel towards you more than the procedure or the cost itself. So everything I'm sharing is creating that connection. The person who chose the slide definitely chose the wrong slide for this, or the wrong picture for this slide, because you could see from this doctor's standpoint, there looks like a little bit of condescending, indifference, ego, looking down and better at you. So let's think about it as this is the opposite of establishing connection and rapport. Okay, so you've given a summary, you've let them know how they felt. The third one, the third essential, is the most important, and that's finding out what is the difference this is going to make in your life above and beyond the physical appearance difference. That's obvious. We know what the new face will look like, the new tummy, the new chin, the new nose, whatever that may be. What's the difference internally to them? Are they going to feel more confident at work? Are they going to feel more confident socially, whether it's attracting the partner, going out in public? There are the intrinsic, the difference it's going to make in their life is what's going to have them invest in you more so than your accolades, more so than you being the best price in the community, because they're investing in their future more than they're investing in you. And you're going to just be that trusted guide that takes them down the road, which is your procedure, to get that end result. Will make all the difference. So the PCC is going to find this out a little bit on the initial phone call, definitely in person in that initial complimentary consult. And then the PCC in front of the patient is going to tell you the 3 essentials of that patient. So that patient also hears, wow, she or he really understood what I talked to her about. She's telling the doctor. So now I know what the doctor knows about me already outside of my paperwork before I even open my mouth. And it creates an initial connection where the patient really feels taken care of. So not only do you have to be repeating it back, getting the 3 essentials, repeating it to that patient, when the PCC hands the new patient over to the doctor, there has to be the 3 essentials in front of the patient to the doctor. Now, this is part of listening fully, no interrupting. You're still going to ask them why you're looking to get this procedure done, and you could even hint at why you're looking to get it done now, even if they're not, even if you're just going to assume. And listen fully, because the age-old stat is the typical doctor interrupts the patient in 17 seconds. Now, I get it. We're busy. You've got a timeline. When you're truly listening, and there's strategies to better listen, so you're not thinking in your head the whole time, you know, is this person a qualified candidate? Are they going to invest in the procedure? What's for dinner tonight? You know, I wonder what's happening in politics. I know all that stuff's going through your head. Half of it's going through your head right now as I'm listening to you. So there are, or as I'm speaking to you, there are ways to listen, to shut that voice out. And when you do it, patients often can feel that you're listening, and they will be more concise. They won't rattle on about their aunt and their uncle and their procedure experience from 20 years ago, even though it has no relevance on what you do now. So when you're truly focused and engaged and care and listen to this person, they will be concise. You won't have to cut them off, and you will get the gold, which will make the difference of them investing in you or not. And that gold is not your accolades. There's a time and a place for your credentials and your accolades and your awards. It's not the new service or that you're the only one in the city that does this. There's a time and a place for that. The true gold is asking the right questions to find out their emotional needs and their 3rd essential, which is the difference in their life that procedure is going to make. The results when they get them, it's going to be pretty much what's missing right now in their life that they don't have, that by getting the procedure, they'll get that back or they'll get that newly. That is the most important factor in having someone invest in you. Now, the other ones play a part, and we'll get to that, but too many doctors leave out the 3 essentials, and they bank everything on the prices, their accolades, and describing the services, and you're only going 20% deep with what the patient actually needs to hear to want to invest in you. So, following up on this, truly knowing the patient, because what I didn't say in the beginning is there's lots of coaches, practice management out there that will show you how to increase your conversions and make a dramatic difference to your bottom line. But too often I see or hear from doctors that it makes them feel like salespeople, whether it's your PCC, whether it's you, the doctor. And I know, well, hopefully none of you got into what you're doing now to feel like a salesperson. That doesn't mean you're not deserving of massive financial success. You absolutely are, because you're delivering an incredible service. Yet there's a way to go about it without feeling like you're selling. So everything that I'm sharing with you, nothing that I'm sharing with now or later in the future ever will come off where you feel icky or you have a knot in your stomach or you don't feel comfortable saying that. And you would have no problem saying it if a family member came in. And that's really, really important, because whatever you feel inside, if you feel uncomfortable saying something, energetically, subconsciously, that patient right in front of you is going to have an uncomfortable feeling, and they're going to take that out on you and your procedure. And then they're going to be one of those people that say, I need to think about it, disappear, don't return email or phone call. And one of those countless people who you could have helped, could have increased your business by helping, but somehow dropped the ball. So be very, very aware of whatever you're feeling in every conversation with patients. Same with your PCC, the patient's feeling that too. So if you're not feeling certain, if you're not feeling enthusiastic, that patient's not going to feel certain about you, your practice, or the procedure, and they're not going to feel enthusiastic about getting it done with you. So really, really observe and be aware of what's going on inside of you. And everything that I share should help cause you to be more certain, more enthusiastic, and more connecting with patients. So this is all about essential 3. Knowing the patient is you've got to ask the questions like you're peeling the onion layers. What is this affecting in your life? The fact that you're not as comfortable going out in public, you're not as confident dating, you're not as certain getting up in front of the board and doing a presentation. What is this affecting? Is it affecting your income? Is it affecting your free time? Is it affecting your peace of mind? Do you feel not good enough? You ask the right questions, you will get the answers that will make the difference when it comes to the recommendations conversation and the PCC scheduling and fees conversation that will have people say, yes, I want this with you, and I'm ready to schedule now and put down a deposit. So you've got to do that. And you've also got to eliminate what have they already tried that hasn't worked, and just make it clear with them. If they keep doing the same thing, and this is important, everything I've shared with you up till now is really patient-focused. It's patient-centered. It's all about them. There's going to be a transition after the patient feels heard, where then you can transfer the conversation to how great you are, but not before that patient feels heard and was given the ability to speak. So that transition statement, it has to be made clear, because most patients know this intrinsically, but hearing you say it is going to make a big difference, because it's going to solidify it. And that's the simple statement of, if you keep doing the same things, if you keep just getting these, if you keep using the potions and lotions, you keep getting these spa procedures, it's not going to change, because it hasn't changed in the last 5 years. Or, and depending on how heavy you want to make it and how truthful and ethical it is, with time and aging and more stress, it's only going to get worse. Now, that's usually a true statement with an aesthetic procedure, because obviously time and aging is going to cause degeneration naturally. It's not even a question. But you've got to have that transition statement, because it's going to solidify in that patient, if I keep doing the same thing, nothing's going to change. And if I don't do anything new, nothing's going to change either. It's very, very strong coming from the doctor. Now, we talked about getting to know. Remember the Chris Voss statement in the beginning from that initial phone call? Right there, we were getting to know in order to have the patient really take some time to schedule that appointment and provide the info needed. Now you're getting to know to bring them closer to you, yet without feeling like a salesperson, without them feeling pressured or intimidated or anything. So a remarkable line to use in your recommendations conversation as the doctor, and the PCC can use this too, is, Mary, are you okay with whatever she told you or he told you? They're looking to have the results before. It may be summer, it may be son's wedding. Are you okay with summer arriving and looking exactly the same as now? That's an obvious no answer question, yet no one feels pigeonholed or sold or coerced when you ask that question. They're going to say no, and it's going to bring them closer to wanting your service. So it's a remarkable way to ask questions when you're calculated with how you do that. And pretty much any question, if you're asking any obvious yes questions, you could pretty much flip all of those around to an obvious no answer question, and it'll make all the difference in how your patients perceive you and want to go forward with you. Now, I talked earlier about the emotions that you feel, like certainty, enthusiasm. You've got to have those in all of your patient interactions and consults when an investment is on the line. The must-have, and we talked about the unneediness. So how can you purposely, even if you feel that you do need that patient, like let's say the overhead's getting high, there's some financial stressors, listen, it happens to us all. There's a level of, yes, you need that investment, you're running a business, but you can never let that be seen or felt by the patient. And the more you demonstrate unneediness, which does not mean uncaring. So you can be the most compassionate and caring doctor with that patient, and at the same time display unneediness. And I'll show you some ways right now where even if you do feel needy, by saying these sentences, the patient won't feel that, and they'll feel more connection to you and want to sell you on accepting their case. So once you start turning around and talking about your procedures, a great way to display unneediness is straight up letting them know that the procedure may not be for them, because everyone has concerns and objections. And instead of waiting for them to ask, address them right away. So look at that line. Even if I accept your case, which right there, just there says, you may not accept their case, which means you're in charge, and they may not be a candidate for the case with you, which means they may not even have the ability to pay you. That's a very, very strong and powerful sentiment to the patient not feeling sold and you not being needy. So even if I accept your case, this procedure still may not be for you. And that's where you want to have an open discussion real quickly of addressing the most common objections and considerations that a patient would have and letting them know, again, the logistics, the potential investment range, and so that doesn't come up later as a concern or an objection by them. And again, it positions you as unneedy. Next is everyone, the only reason people refer, and this is really important, people don't refer, patients especially, based on the results they got. Patients expect to get the results that you probably don't even expect. They expect it to be perfect. And when it is, you're grateful, but patients don't refer on their expectations being met. They refer because they want the credit in the eyes of whoever they referred for the experience that person's going to have. One thing that's unique, what separates the way you do your procedure, how you do it, why you do it, you come up with that. I don't have that answer for you. That's going to be unique. But you and your PCCs have to develop that communication so every new patient prospect sitting in front of you is thinking, wow, he or she does it this way and no one else in the city does it that way. That's what separates them. So you've got to figure that out, and you've got to incorporate that into your consult, doctor and PCC consult conversation, which is just intriguing the patient. And it's going to feel like a secret, and that's going to be the main reason they're going to tell other people about you, more so than their nose looks perfect or any of that. And then finally, you've got to display certainty and confidence why you are the undisputed best option compared to what other procedures they may be considering. Like, yours is obviously the best, but they're considering doing the lesser spa for the next year to see if that makes a difference or see if they can stem the degeneration or aging looking. You've got to show them why yours is safer, longer lasting, better results, whichever are obviously true and accurate and ethical. You've got to show why are you the undisputed best option. And it is important. I'm going in an order here. This isn't the whole conversation, but if you started with this in the beginning, you would turn the patient off. By doing this at the end, after you've listened to them, after you've given them the 3 essentials, they are far more receptive to listen to you and believe everything you're saying because you made it all about them first. So absolutely huge, not just writing down some of these questions, but the order I'm giving it to you in. Now, coming up on the last couple slides, to finish that consult, let's say, paint an inspiring picture of their future. This is where the 3 essentials comes back, because when someone is hearing about themselves, you can't repeat or say stuff too often. If it's all about the end results they're getting, that's how to finish the consult. So if you're a candidate for this procedure, after our exam, here's how I expect it'll turn out. And then just paint this beautiful picture of, you're going to look closer to that picture you brought in from 20 years ago. You're going to have so much more confidence in public and social in terms of your dating. You're going to be more confident getting that promotion. You're going to feel more comfortable in your own skin. You're not going to feel old looking in the mirror. You're going to feel great about yourself for the first time in 8 years, Mary. When you really, and the reason I'm having trouble canning this is because I would say exactly what that patient told me earlier. So this isn't a script. This isn't canned language. That's why I'm kind of at a loss and I'm kind of sugarcoating it. But they're going to tell you very, very specific things in their life. You just repeat, hey, the opposite of that's going to happen, or whatever is missing is now going to be there. That's the gold. That's the music to their ears. And if you're not saying this, then literally you're positioning yourself as, well, the person's going to base it on the price, the type of procedure, the recovery time. They're going to base it on all the logistics. They're not going to base it on what really counts, which is that emotional connection that you spurred in them. So again, not a script. They've already told you in the PCC This, you're just repeating it back to them to proceed, get them inspired for the exam. Okay. Now, doctor's recommendation conversation. So you've done the exam, you believe you can get them the results they're looking for. This is a great segue in a sentence to display unneediness. Remember, neediness is the most unattractive trait in a relationship. Unneediness brings people towards you. Up on the Upper East Side in Manhattan, the first Creed shop, Creed fragrance, very high end, one of the earliest fragrances companies created, I don't know, 1700s, opened on the corner of 67th and Madison. And I would walk by every day and finally went in, and the managers there are just, they're so personable, they're great, established a connection. And I thought one day, you know, they showed me, oh, this is the best scent for you, Josh, being a doctor in the community. One day I thought, okay, the $430 a bottle price range, you know, I'm going to treat myself to that. So I go in, I already knew the fragrance I wanted because they matched me with their process perfectly to the fragrance for me. I knew the costs and I was going to do it. And I go in and the managers there who I've connected with and have good rapport with, and okay, I want it. And he literally said, Josh, I want you to think about it. Just make sure. And he actually turned me away. It was the ultimate demonstration of unneediness. Now, I'm not saying to do exactly that with your patients. Do not turn people away. But when he did that, I wanted that bottle so much more. And I don't know if it was the next day or 3 days later I came back, but now years later, that's the only fragrance I wear, and I probably never switch. And just by him telling me to think about it, make sure it's for me, not even accepting my payment right there on the spot, made a tremendous difference in how much more I wanted it. So when you ask, or when you say the line and ask the question, just positioning yourself as unneedy, Mary, the reason I have the success rate I do, why my patients refer and return for life, is because I only accept cases I'm extremely confident in getting or exceeding the results you're looking for. And now this is the important part, I only work with patients who play their part to get those results. So tell me why I should accept your case, Mary. When you say that to a new patient, it turns the whole conversation from them considering you or interviewing you to you interviewing them if they even can deserve your procedure. Because what you're going to have and what you need to have is a procedure agreement or procedure commitment list of all of the things the patient, and it doesn't have to be hard or complicated, but the things the patient has to agree to in pre-op and post-op for them to get the best results. And that may be as simple as you need to increase your water intake. You need to cut out these inflammatory causing foods for a week before or a week after. It doesn't have to be hard, and there's no reason someone shouldn't accept it, but you absolutely have to have that in place because it will position you as the prize. And that's what's going to make all the difference. And here is where your new patient will sell you on why she or he deserves you to take their case, and will also agree to everything necessary to get those results, because that's only going to help your testimonials, your pre and post pictures, if they're actually doing the stuff that you know is going to make a difference before and after the procedure to get the best looking results. If you just hand them a sheet and say this will help, you know only 20% of the people are going to do 20% of them. When you make it as this is an agreement and a commitment in order to be able to get the procedure, in order to even be able to pay us, you've just made a huge difference in how that person views you and respects you. So another example is after I understood this and learned these years ago, when I was graduating from grad school, moved into the city and had no use for my car that I had at grad school at the time. And I had also outgrown it. This was a 1995 green Jeep Cherokee that I bought years before off some other college kid. It was raised with oversized tires, tinted windows, a huge grill. Like it was a monster truck. It was beautiful, but for a different time in my life. So I moved into the city. I don't need it anymore. I put an ad to sell it. A guy from Queens comes to look at it. And we're sitting in the car, and I tell him straight up. And a lot of this was actually true because it was a really cool car and I had such great memories in it. I said straight up to him, listen, I'm not going to just sell this to anyone. I'm only selling this to someone who I feel is really going to appreciate it and take care of it. When he heard that, to 20 minutes later, after the test drive, after he decided he wanted it completely shut out any consideration of him negotiating on price. Now, I know we're talking about a used car for a few $1,000s, and this is a different scenario, but it's the same psychological construct. So not only when he decided he wanted to buy it, did he not even bring up a lower price or negotiate, in which we're talking about used cars. That's the name of the game. Everything's a negotiation. Not only did he not try to negotiate, he said, Josh, will you sell this car to me? That's how powerful this is. And that's what your patients are not only going to be saying to you, but they're going to be telling other people. I was able to get in a procedure with Dr. Smith. They'll be challenging each other. Like, you probably won't even get accepted. Now, what do you think that person's going to do? They're going to want to prove their friend wrong. They're going to want to prove that they can. So this is extremely powerful, coming off unneedy and coming off where the patient has to sell you, and you never, ever, ever feel like you need to sell the patient. So, okay, we're just a few minutes to the top of the hour. That was all the strategies I could pack in perfectly fit, and I'll answer a few questions, whatever came in, Chad, whatever you think is most important. And really, for those of you still on the line, thank you for your time, your attendance, your energy, really for what you do in your community, what you do for your patients. You are making a difference with how people feel internally and how they show up in the world, and making the world a better place when people feel better about themselves. So more people deserve to get what you offer and pay you for it, because you deserve that too. So thank you, and thank you, Chad, for hosting this for your docs.
Oh, Dr. Wagner, it's our pleasure. That was awesome. As you were talking, I remembered back to a time when I worked in the call center. And by the way, I think everybody in their life should work in a call center environment. I think the things you learn there, whether it's inbound, outbound, doesn't matter, I've done both, are just extremely valuable. But we used the line often when we would call somebody. One of the first things we do is, did I catch you at a terrible time? Not only were we eliciting the no response, but people are like, well, no, it's not terrible. And you know what I mean? And so it works. There's a ton of psychology behind this. And it doesn't have to feel forced. It can feel very natural. You find what works for you. So I loved hearing that. There were several questions that came in. And one of the first ones, going back, was in relation to, as you're taking that credit card in advance. If the patient is a Medicare patient, perhaps wanting a facelift, are there limitations on taking that credit card in advance?
Good question. And coming from a HIPAA compliance, straight up, I do not know the answer for that. But let's say it's a billable Medicare code that you can't accept any outside payment besides reasonable and customary, their copay, whatever it is. I get it. If you're going to bill them for, let's say, a no-show, that's not a CPT code. So there shouldn't be any reason that you can't bill a Medicare patient for a procedure that's not a CPT code. To me, it's no different than selling them shoes. So find out with your state HIPAA, but I don't believe that should be an issue.
Great. Another question was, who talks about the investment? Is that the physician or the patient care coordinator, the PCC, or is that both?
Good. Ideally, it should be the PCC. Now, I say ideally because as the doctor, you shouldn't have to. People usually aren't expecting you to, and you don't want to make money part of the conversation. Again, it's all about them and their needs. Now, I say ideally because your PCC, whoever you hire or train, better be great at it. Comfortable with money, realize that your procedures are worth far more than whatever you're charging. So it's a steal for the patients. Even if it's a $25,000 procedure, it's a steal considering what they're going to get for the rest of their life. So whoever is the best at that conversation and having that certainty and having that unneediness and enthusiasm has to train and deliver it. And hopefully it is the PCC and not the doctor, so the doctor doesn't have to engage with that in the patients.
Thank you. Another question is, you've done all these things, you've gone through all these steps, and I think that a lot of the people listening today maybe are saying, wow, I do some of those, but not all of them, you know, and it's easy to get into these habits over time. But let's say you do all of this, and you get to the end, and someone still says, complaining they can't afford it. What do you do then? What's your next step?
So the first answer is what I shared with you today is also only about 20% of when you map out those 5 conversations. Now, I probably shared with you 10%. So don't think if, oh, you're doing everything except 2 or 3 things that I shared, that's everything. Like, it is a to Z process. 5 of those conversations have to be done to a T, will make the 80% difference for you. Now, yes, there is also always going to be people who object. Oh, you know what? I'm going to give you another great secret, because I think in the email for this, I promised I would let you know how to respond to the negotiating new patient, which is different than the objection, like, oh, I can't afford this. So let me first handle the negotiating new patient. The negotiating patient, if you don't already know, is least likely to not be able to afford it. Some people are just born negotiators. They're frugal. It's a set. They're going to do it at the farmer's market. So when someone starts negotiating, automatically anchor to the fact that they absolutely can afford it. And this is just part of their personality. So instead of going into a bartering or lessening your value, anything like that, one line, all you say to them is, Mary, do you really want Dr. Smith operating on you, knowing he's getting compensated less than every other patient for this procedure? You ask that, they're going to say, you're right, never mind. So just ask that, just completely with all the certainty and confidence in the world, as if that's even a joke that you're going to negotiate about the fee. When it gets to overcoming objections, that's a bigger topic. There's different ways to do it. And that's more of a tutorial that I offer in my program. So I'm not going to get into that now, but I will say one of the aspects is bring up the getting a no question again. So it's not the first thing you say, but if someone is saying, oh, you know, I can't really afford it, you do the overcoming objections response that I teach in other areas, and then they're still kind of wishy-washy or silent, then you say, Mary, you know, do you want summer to hit, or do you want New Year's Eve to be here and your nose still looks like this? It's an obvious no question. They're going to say no, and that brings them closer to you are the solution, you are the answer. So use getting a no when people give you objections or hesitations.
Yeah, that's great. Dr. Wagner, I've had, I think, 3 or 4 people have written something in here, as well as I've got text messages coming in from clients. So they want to know about coaching and a phone number for you, and how do they contact you to continue to learn more?
Easiest way is the website right here, Aesthetic Practice Strategies. I have another different presentation on that site. So go to aestheticpracticestrategies.com. If you want to, there's an opportunity to speak and schedule a call after that presentation. That's on that site. So that's really the best way. Yeah, aestheticpracticestrategies.com, another presentation, and the ability to get on the phone with me. And I have different programs helping not just the doctor, but more importantly, the whole team, the PCC, whoever is dedicated to answer that new patient phone call, of dramatically increasing your high fee conversions without hiring extra staff, spending more time in the office, or spending more on marketing. And I'm not saying you shouldn't spend more on marketing, but what I teach, you won't have to make that difference in your income change. So Chad, thank you so much. And again, thank you for every single person who's still on here, because I know you're on here because you're committed to delivering a better service, growing your practice, and having a better life. And if you resonate with what I share, I want the exact same thing for you. So thank you.
Our pleasure. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for all of our participations. All your participation. We really do appreciate it. We're out of time today for more questions, but if you've got anything else you'd like, please feel free to send it to me, and I can connect you directly with Dr. Wagner, or go to his website again at Aesthetic Practice Strategies. Again, we're trying to bring things to you that we think will move the needle forward, help you be successful in your practices. Here at Advice Media, we are committed to helping both your personal and professional success, and we believe that comes through offering great educational information like this. So, Dr. Wagner, thank you very much. Wishing everyone a wonderful and safe Halloween season, and enjoy the fall. And we'll talk to you next month. Take care. Bye now.
Thank you, guys.